All right, welcome to another deep dive. We got a ton of requests for you guys to dig into this one, and I gotta say, it's a good one. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, his thoughts on AI and where it's all headed. We're going deep on a recent interview he gave, like pretty high-profile tech conference, yeah.
This was just, what, a couple years after ChatGPT just blew up, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the world went kind of nuts for it, and even Altman, he admitted that even he didn't really see that coming.
I mean, think about it. ChatGPT's everywhere now. What is it, like 300 million people using it every week? Over a billion messages every single day. That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. No wonder everybody's talking about this whole ChatGPT explosion.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just like, hype. It really set off this, like, chain reaction. Companies are pouring money into AI. Governments are freaking out, trying to figure out how to regulate it. And everybody is suddenly dealing with the fallout.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And like right in the middle of all this, Altman just drops this bomb. He's like, superintelligence. Yeah, that could be here in a few thousand days. Okay, whoa, hold on a sec. What does that even mean? Superintelligence? It sounds like, I don't know, a Marvel movie.
Right. It's like this buzzword that gets tossed around, but we got to be clear, like, what are we actually talking about? It's different from AGI, right? Artificial General Intelligence. AGI, that's about AI being as smart as us, doing anything we can do intellectually. Superintelligence, it's beyond us. It's like way beyond.
Okay, so if AGI is like reaching the top of Mount Everest, then superintelligence is like building a rocket on top of Mount Everest and launching yourself into space.
Exactly. You got it. And what Altman's saying is, yeah, getting to AGI, that's huge.
Huh.
But the really wild stuff, the stuff that really changes everything, that comes after. Like as we move from AGI to superintelligence.
Honestly, that's kind of terrifying. It's like saying, don't worry about the earthquake. It's the tsunami after you got to watch out for.
Yeah, I get it. It makes you think, how do we even get ready for something like that? Something we can barely even imagine.
Right. But before we spiral, let's back up for a second. Remember all that talk about AI hitting a wall?
Yeah.
Like the progress was slowing down?
Yeah, people were saying the first burst of progress was too much, too fast, like it couldn't last.
But Altman just shut that down hard. He's like, nope, no wall here.
Yeah.
Basically like challenging anyone who doubted him.
And then he started hinting at all this crazy stuff OpenAI was working on. Stuff they were about to drop. They even had that whole 12 days of OpenAI thing, showing off new AI demos, research breakthroughs, like a tech advent calendar or something.
Which got people excited, but some people were like, hold up a minute. Maybe OpenAI is moving too fast. Like maybe that's making things even riskier.
That's a good point. And it brings up this bigger question. How do you actually build these super powerful AI systems anyway? And can we even keep up this pace? It's not just about some genius is coding in a basement anymore, is it?
No way. We're talking massive resources, especially compute power, like the processing power to run all these crazy algorithms.
You need that for sure. Compute power, that's the foundation. And that's getting expensive, hard to come by. And then there's the data, like the raw material that these AIs learn from, and then the algorithms themselves, the instructions, the rules that tell the AI how to learn.
So it's like a three-legged stool. You got your compute power, your data, and your algorithms. You need all three to build something strong, something that works. But what happens when one of those legs gets wobbly or just too expensive to keep up?
Right, and that's a huge question, especially for OpenAI, because they've been leaning hard on Microsoft for all that compute power.
Yeah, everybody was talking about their partnership, but there were whispers, like some tension behind the scenes. Some people were saying it might not even last.
Because the amount of power you need to build the next generation of AI, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, can they really keep this up?
It's something to watch, for sure. Because it shows you just how tough it is, all the trade-offs you got to make when you're trying to push the limits of what AI can do.
And speaking of competition, that brings us to, well, another big name in AI, Elon Musk and his new company, XAI.
Right. Musk has been pretty vocal about his issues with OpenAI. Seems like he's building his own AI empire.
What's wild is that he and Altman, they used to work together, right? Back in the early days of OpenAI. Now they're on opposite sides, each one with their own idea of where AI should go.
It's like a rivalry straight out of, like, Silicon Valley mythology or something.
And it's not just ideas. Musk has been pretty public about his concerns about OpenAI, their size, their power, how close they are with Microsoft. He even sued them, saying they've gone way off track from their original mission.
Yeah, it's a messy situation, but it shows you the stakes are high, like really high.
It's a battle for the future of AI, and who gets to decide what that future looks like.
And both sides are going all in, trying to grab all the resources they can.
especially that compute power. Seems like that's the key to everything in AI right now.
Absolutely. Both OpenAI and XAI, they're hungry for it. They know that's how you unlock the next level of AI.
So we got this, like, AI arms race going on. But what does that even mean for the rest of us? For our jobs, our lives? What happens to us when AI gets that powerful?
Yeah, that's the question everyone's asking. And it's something that Altman actually talks about in the interview. He doesn't shy away from it, all the anxiety people have about AI and jobs. But he also has this perspective. It's kind of, well, it's both reassuring and thought-provoking at the same time.
Let's get into that then, because I think that's what everybody wants to know. What does Altman say about the future of work in a world where AI is, shaking everything up, changing entire industries, the whole economy? Okay, so AI and the future of work is kind of scary, right? Like, are we all going to be out of a job in a few years? What does Altman say about that?
Well, he doesn't sugarcoat it. It's like, yeah, things are going to change big time. We're heading for some serious economic disruption, as he calls it. And that, well, that doesn't sound too great.
Yeah, not really. It's like those pictures you see of robots taking over factories.
Exactly. But Altman's point is, just because some jobs get automated, that doesn't mean there's no more work, period. It's more like a shift, not a total wipeout. New jobs will pop up, and the jobs we have now, they'll change too.
Okay, I guess that's a little less scary. But wouldn't that mean we'd have to, like, totally rethink how we learn stuff? Education, job training, all that?
Oh, absolutely. Altman's big on this idea of adaptability, always learning new things, because the pace of change, it's going to be so fast. What you learn today might be useless in a couple years.
So it's not about, like, clinging to the job you have now. It's about being ready for whatever comes next.
Yeah.
Even if we don't know what those jobs are yet.
Exactly. You got to change your mindset. We all need to be lifelong learners, always leveling up our skills to stay ahead. That's going to be a big challenge for everyone, for schools, for everyone, really.
Yeah, I can see it now. Everyone's scrambling to create new courses, new training programs, trying to teach people the skills they need in this, like, AI-powered world.
And it's not just about tech skills either. Altman thinks things like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, those are going to be super valuable. Those are the things that AI, at least for now, can't do.
So it's not all doom and gloom. There's, like, opportunity in there, too, mixed in with all the anxiety.
For sure. Altman sees this whole AI thing as a chance to, like, redefine work, create whole new industries, even solve some of the world's biggest problems. He thinks AI can be a force for good, but we got to be smart about it. We got to be careful how we build it, how we use it.
Which brings us back to AI safety, ethics, all that.
Sure.
It's one thing to talk about all the cool stuff AI could do, but how do we make sure it doesn't, go rogue? How do we keep it from doing bad stuff?
Right. Hoping for the best isn't enough. We got to be proactive, make sure AI aligns with our values, with what we want as a society. Altman talks about this idea of iterative deployment, basically releasing AI into the world gradually, carefully.
So instead of building some super intelligent AI in a lab and then, like, setting it loose, we release smaller, less powerful versions first.
Yeah.
See how they do, get feedback, and then make them better, safer.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about learning as we go, both for the AI and for us, the ones building it.
But isn't that risky? What if we release an AI, we think it's safe, but then it learns stuff, changes in ways we didn't expect? What if it ends up doing stuff we didn't want it to do?
That's a real concern, and Altman knows it. That's why he stresses the importance of safety measures, testing, and keeping a close eye on things.
So it's like walking a tightrope. You want to push the limits, see what AI can do, but you got to be careful. You got to respect the fact that it could have unintended consequences.
Exactly. And to get that balance right, it's going to take everyone working together, researchers, developers, policymakers, even the public. We need to talk about the risks, the benefits, and figure out how to do this right.
It sounds like we need, like, a new set of rules, a new way of thinking about how we handle AI.
Yeah, we need to update our ethics, our laws, even our education systems. This isn't just a tech issue, it's a societal one.
And it's not going away. As AI keeps getting smarter, these questions are just going to get tougher and tougher.
Now, zooming in a bit, there's one specific ethical issue that's been making headlines lately. Using copyrighted stuff to train AI. Remember that lawsuit, the New York Times against OpenAI and Microsoft?
Oh, yeah, the one where the Times is saying their articles were used to train ChatGPT without their permission.
Exactly. And it brings up this whole question of, like, ownership in the age of AI. Who owns what when an AI is involved?
Yeah, it's confusing. Like, you could say AI companies need tons of data to train their systems, and if we restrict that, it'll slow down progress.
But then you got creators, writers, artists who are like, hey, that's my work. You can't just use it without asking me, without paying me.
It's like we need a whole new way of thinking about copyright, intellectual property, something that works for both sides.
I agree. And this is something Altman acknowledges. He thinks creators should get a cut when their work is used to train AI. He's even open to new ways of doing that, like micropayments, where you get a tiny bit of money every time your work is used.
That's an interesting idea. It's like the old rules just don't apply anymore. It feels like we're entering this weird new world where it's hard to tell what's human-made and what's AI-made.
Yeah, and that raises all sorts of questions about art, creativity, even what it means to be an author.
It's pretty mind-blowing and a little scary, too.
Definitely. But these are conversations we need to have because how we answer these questions, it's going to shape the future of culture, of society.
So we've talked about AI's impact on work, the whole safety and ethics thing, and now copyright. It's clear, this AI revolution. It brings up a lot of questions we don't really have answers to yet. But in the middle of all this talk about tech and change, what does Altman say about the things that really matter, like in life?
That's where the interview takes a kind of personal turn. Altman mentions that he's about to become a dad, and he talks about how being a father soon, it's changed how he sees things, what's important to him.
So even the guy who's leading the charge on AI, he's still drawn to the human stuff, the simple things like family, connection. That's pretty cool.
It is. It reminds us that even with all this crazy tech, all this change, the human experience, it's still powerful. It's still what grounds us.
And it makes you think, what if more leaders in tech, what if they thought like that? What if it wasn't all about money and power?
That's an interesting thought. What if it was about using tech to make life better, to solve problems, to make the world fairer?
That's more in line with OpenAI's original mission, right?
Yeah.
Building AI that benefits everyone. But then they switched from nonprofit to for-profit. And a lot of people were like, uh-oh, is that going to change things?
It definitely makes you think about their priorities, Like even with all this talk about superintelligence, AGI, it's fatherhood that really gets him going, kind of puts things in perspective.
It really does. Like, here's the guy literally at the forefront of AI, and he's more excited about, like, changing diapers and reading bedtime stories than building a superintelligence. That's kind of wild when you think about it.
Yeah, it really highlights how even with all this crazy technology, all these advancements, those basic human experiences, they still matter. They still have this pull on us.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what if more people in tech, more leaders had that same outlook? What if it wasn't all about, making the most powerful AI, the most money?
Yeah. What if it was about using AI to make life better, to solve real problems, to make things fairer?
It's like going back to OpenAI's original mission, right? AI for the benefit of all humankind. But then there's that whole thing, them switching from nonprofit to for-profit. A lot of people were worried about that.
Right, like would that change their focus? Would they still be committed to that mission?
Altman said that going for-profit was the only way they could get the resources they needed to actually build what they wanted to build.
He said when they started OpenAI, they just didn't realize how much it would take. The computing power, the data, the people, it's expensive, all of it.
And then when they started making these huge leaps, especially with those large language models like ChatGPT, they needed even more money, more resources.
Exactly. They realized if they wanted to stay ahead, they had to play the game. They had to go for profit.
But not everyone was happy about that. Some people said it went against their original ideals, like putting profit before people.
Yeah, like maybe the pressure to make money would lead them to cut corners ethically or just narrow their focus too much.
It's a tough question. And you can tell Altman's thought about it a lot. He even said he kind of wished he'd taken some equity in OpenAI early on, just so he wouldn't have to answer all these questions about it.
It's almost like he sees all the focus on money and wealth as a distraction. Like it's getting in the way of the real work.
Which is especially interesting given how little he actually makes. I mean, people were surprised to find out his salary. As CEO, it's only like, what, $76,000 a year?
Yeah, that's pretty unheard of in Silicon Valley. Most CEOs are making millions, tens of millions.
Like he's making a statement. Like he's not in it for the money.
It definitely sets him apart. Makes you wonder, what if more people in tech thought like that?
Yeah, especially when you think about how AI could make inequality worse if we're not careful.
Now, speaking of different ways of thinking, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, the whole Altman-Musk rivalry.
Oh, yeah, that's been a big story. Two brilliant guys used to work together. Now they're like battling it out for control of the future of AI.
It's like something out of a movie. They were both there at the beginning of OpenAI, shared this vision of safe, beneficial AI.
But then they split. And Musk went off and started his own company, XAI.
And things haven't been very friendly between them since. Musk has been publicly criticizing OpenAI, even sued them.
Yeah, he's worried about them being too close to Microsoft, giving Microsoft too much power over AI.
He's also worried about OpenAI itself becoming too powerful, too centralized, like maybe they've lost their way.
It's complicated, that's for sure. But it shows how important it is to have different voices, different approaches to AI.
And how important transparency is, making sure everything's out in the open, especially as we move forward with this whole AI revolution.
Yeah, the future of AI, it's not set in stone. It depends on the choices we make, the values we follow, the conversations we have.
And that's why it's so important to keep digging into this stuff, to explore different viewpoints, to ask tough questions, to make sure AI is used to benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. And on that note, as we wrap up our deep dive into Sam Altman's world, let's leave our listeners with that thought-provoking question, the one that Altman himself brought up. If he, the guy leading the charge on AI, is more excited about being a dad than about reaching AGI, what does that say about what really matters in life? It's something to think about. What are our priorities? What kind of future do we want to build? And thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something new and that you'll keep exploring this amazing, always changing world of AI.